how are you? This is Julia Sana, licensed marriage and family therapist and a licensed mental health counselor here in Florida. Today I want to talk to us about coronavirus and the anxiety which is leading to, unfortunately, child abuse and sometimes over disciplining our children. So today I want to talk to us about how to prevent that from happening and some strategies and tips on how to handle the feelings that we have right now and how to discipline our children during this season without resorting to abusive methods. The first thing that we need to do is acknowledge our own stress. Most of the time we don't acknowledge how we're feeling because we feel we don't have the time to do that. If we acknowledge it, then it will be a rolling stone and we'll never be able to stop. But we need to acknowledge what we're really feeling on the inside, which is the anxiety, the exhaustion, the uncertainty. For some of you out there, that also includes job loss, caring for older parents who you can't visit, can't see face to face. So there's a lot of stress that you as a parent are already dealing with, and acknowledging that and saying, I am dealing with this and this is making it tough for me, helps you to be able to know when you're tempted to take out that stress on a child or on a spouse. And so once we acknowledge that, then we come up with a plan on how to care for ourselves before we resort to disciplining our children in anger. So self-care I've described before in a different video, but it will involve acknowledging that, being able to take time out for yourself, and just being able to calm yourself down before you discipline the child. So one of the things that I want to share with us is that our children are also stressed out from this experience. They've never been in a pandemic before. They cannot see their friends, their neighbors, their neighbor children. They can't hang out with family members. And for most people who are observing the social distancing, that means your kids probably haven't hanged out with another kid face to face unless it's their own siblings, or they're doing Zoom or online play dates. So our kids are going through stress too. And one of the things I want to share with the parents watching this is that my husband and I are also parents to 4 children that are from pre-K all the way to high school, 4 of them. So we know about the school at home and different emotional growths of the children right now and the rates and the stress that they're going through. So we're not sharing something that we're not going through ourselves. So when children experience the tantrum, some of the time is because they haven't had enough sleep. The pandemic and the season, the way it's going right now, some of the sleep times have been disrupted. Kids will go to bed later, or maybe they're hiding their phones or electronics or books, and they're sleeping a little later than they should. So if we have an earlier sleep time, it gives the parents some time to be by themselves, be able to cope and kind of decompress at the end of the day without resorting to feeling that they have to overly discipline the child. And also when children wake up in the morning and they've had a good night's sleep, then they're able to work through their schoolwork and be in the morning, be alert in class without having to resort to tantrums. That does not mean that still you won't have a child who's being defiant. The other thing to realize is sometimes when the children are being defiant, it is a power struggle for them. They want to, it's the same thing that a child does, just testing their boundaries. But also in this particular season, defiance could also mean fear. They're afraid of something. We could be telling our kids, go to your room, go and finish your homework in the room. But maybe they're afraid. They've had all these things floating in the air. If they're online with their friends, they might have had a couple of things, so they don't know what's real or not. So don't just assume that defiance is literally just defiance only. Kind of try and gauge why they're being defiant before you decide what kind of discipline to help your child grow in their behavior. So I have 4 points that I want to share with us about how to stop ourselves from resorting to child abuse or over disciplining our children in anger. And these 4 things are stop, breathe, think, and act. All right? So stop, breathe, think, and then we act. So What stopping is, it means check yourself, find out why you're so angry right then with the child, right before you met out whatever discipline it is. Ask yourself right then, just stop and think, why am I so mad at them right now? Why am I so angry that I feel like I want to hit this child, or I want to throw their iPad away, or I want to drop something on the floor? When you feel that anger rising, stop right there. Stop, stop, stop. Look at their face and let that face remind you of who you are, that you're their parent, and don't let them push that button so deep in you that you're overreacting right then. So stopping gives us a moment to just literally put a break on the adrenaline that we're feeling towards them. Breathe. Breathing is really important. Just take 4 deep breaths, and when you take the deep breath, your stomach goes out, and when you breathe out, then your stomach goes in. The breath will have a way of clearing out your mind and lowering the level of anger that you're feeling, because the point is to be able to discipline your child and have it produce a result in a change of heart and a change of behavior. Not just a change of behavior, but the heart is defiant. So the next one is breathing. So when you breathe, I talked about the breathing. When you breathe, it calms yourself down, gives you a chance, gives you a chance to be able to think of what to do next. So thinking, once you've breathed, stopped thought, now you're thinking, you ask yourself, what is it that I want to achieve right now? It sounds really weird, and you're like, I'm not going to be able to do that when I'm feeling angry. But the truth is, right then, you're able to think, what do I want? And what you need to do is, you're staring at your child's eyes. Chances are they know what was coming, so they're full of fear, apprehension, anxiety, and maybe they're already crying, and maybe they have a defiant face depending on what's going on. But as soon as you think, you will need to process, what do I want from them right now? Do I want a change in behavior and a change in heart? Do I need them to sit down and do their homework, clean up after themselves, do the dishes, help a sibling, stop hitting a sibling if they're having a sibling fight? What is the expected result right then? So that's why we're talking about think, so that you're able to achieve what you want without resorting to overly disciplining, or even, unfortunately, moving into abusive territory with a child. The next one is talk. So talking is really, really important with our children. And the main point that I want to pull for us is to remind us the idea of grace. And grace is when we give unmerited favor. We receive grace from the Lord, for those of you who are believers. And grace is unmerited favor, meaning we haven't done anything to earn it. And right then, our children have not done anything to earn our grace, because they're being defiant, and that's why we want to discipline them. But when we extend grace, it gives us a moment to think, because they'll be surprised. They're thinking, I'm expecting discipline and harsh discipline right now, but my mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, guardian, auntie, uncle, whoever is in charge of the child, is giving me a chance to listen and a chance to talk back and let them know what happened. And when we give grace, it doesn't diminish us. It actually makes us the bigger person. And then mercy. Mercy is when we don't give exactly what they deserve. Maybe your child is used to you overly reacting, overly disciplining them. So at that moment, when you talk to them, don't curse your child. Words have power, and they will last way into their adulthood. Your words to your child are life-giving. Okay, so I want us to focus on words that give life, even when we're disciplining our children. Do not call them names. For a child, that name becomes a picture embedded in their subconscious mind. Without knowing, they will work to become the word that you call them. So don't call them any word that is a negative word, because you're literally writing it into their future. A child does not know, their mind does not know this was not intended. It will come across as, this is what my mother, my father, the adult really thinks about me. So don't curse your child. Do not curse at your child, because that shows that you are out of control. You're not the one in control if they've pushed your button to the point of you cursing at them. A pandemic does not change how much joy or sorrow our words bring to our children. All right, the next one is act. So when we discipline our child at that point, then we want to achieve something with the discipline. We don't want a child who says, okay, fine, I'm gonna sit down, but their heart is standing up, if you know what I mean. So that means a child who is outwardly behaving but inwardly disobeying you. And the goal is to have our children's hearts change, their heart and their thoughts realize why their behavior was unacceptable. So um, and at that moment, maybe just when they're little, when they're in preschool and pre-K and kindergarten, I'm a parent, I know that part. A lot of it is rote, learning behavior through example and through doing. So they might not necessarily understand why you're doing what you're doing, but if you discipline right then you're able to give them discipline that is appropriate for their age. Whether it's sit in the corner and think about it, or sit with your book and read, you can't play anymore. Whether the child was about to touch a hot stove and you reached out your hand and spanked their hand, and you're like, you can't do that, that's a hot stove, or they're about to run into the street because they were playing, at least you stopped, you breathed, you thought about it before you talked words of grace, and then now you're acting in a loving manner, because the acting needs to be an acting that produces the necessary change that you're looking for. Let's not waste our emotional energy as parents. We have so many things pulling at us, all right? So we want to act in a way that impacts our children's hearts and helps them become who we're praying and hoping for them to become. And you know what, parents, there's a lot of support for us out there. Reach out to your friends, talk to a friend on the phone, get yourself out of the room. When you're feeling that anger building up in you, it's time for us as parents to take ourselves out, do our own time out, and go and calm down. Go do the stop, breathe, think before we talk and act. So when we do our own timeout, it gives us a chance to be able to calm down. All right. There are resources out there, and I'm going to do a couple more videos. You can reach out to me as well. I'm Julia Sana, licensed marriage and family therapist and licensed mental health counselor. Most importantly, a wife and a mother of 4. So I know and understand what we're going through as parents at this time. Let's look out for one another. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Please subscribe to this channel if you like what you heard. Subscribe and follow us, and feel free to reach out. God bless you.